bring your mind into the present, be where you are with your washing your hands, and that's not it. That's not it. You have to undo the blocks, and then you're more, like you say, effortlessly and naturally enjoying the present. You don't have to go, oh, I've got to focus on the present moment. I used to do that all the time, and it never stayed. It was not, it felt forced.
And I mean, whatever you're doing, you're still doing it through, even if you're focusing, because you're still just focusing on form in a sense, and so you're still seeing through the same mind.
It is the natural, effortless living in the present. And that's in the course, in the first section of the course, it says knowledge. It merely is. It merely is. And that struck me, because I'd overlooked that for so many years reading the course, and then it was like those three words just like jumped out at me and said yes. Because when you're here right now, that's the teaching to me. Those three words sum up the course. It merely is. Oh, George is coming in. We've got a new member today. Hello, George. Where's Nikki gone? Nikki's dropped out.
Nikki whooped.
Nikki whooped.
Hi, George.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
We can.
Great. This is my first time.
Welcome. Welcome to our little group.
I'm privileged. I feel privileged.
So, this group is, we're usually just the 4 members, and there's occasionally we have Mike come in and sometimes Annalee, but it's usually 5 of us, including myself. So, and you're welcome to come on any time you like and leave any time you like. So, George, I'll just explain a little bit about our group. So we call it a forgiveness practice group. So if you're upset by anything when you come onto the group, it allows you to get used to how to practice forgiveness. And forgiveness is actually anything you do that causes you to shift from fear to love. So it's nothing in particular, but one of the practices that I found very helpful, which I've just suggested to the group, but it's up to, we have an individual curriculum, so it's really the calling of your heart. So the forgiveness process I usually have brought to this group is that when you're upset, to just share briefly about what is upsetting you, and then just to say the prayer to the Holy Spirit, just have the calling of your heart as being willing to be free of it, because then that's the happiness comes when we're free of the upset, of the belief in that story. So we usually just say something along the lines of, Holy Spirit, I give you this feeling of guilt, or these thoughts of fear, or these thoughts of worry. Sometimes we just, whatever it is, we just give it over to the Holy Spirit. You can see yourself bundling it up in a big bag, or wrap it up in a big sheet and something, and tie a knot, give it all over. Say, I don't want it anymore. You have it, you take it. I'm not interested in these thoughts. They don't bring any happiness. You take them, feel yourself really giving them away, and just say, I want another way to see this. And the reason why we say we want another way, or I want to see this differently, is that when we get, and the Holy Spirit will bring in another way to see it. It will. When you ask it with a heart open and a desire, a heart wanting another way to see it. The other way that we see it replaces it. It's like we have to we're mind trained out of an old way of thinking to a new way of thinking, we have to have something that replaces it. And some people will just say, just hand it over into the Holy Spirit. But that's only one step. You're going to, unless you get something to replace it. Now, generally what happens is the replacement thought will be something from the Course, will be some teaching or something will come into your mind that'll use the teachings, the metaphysics of the Course to illuminate you, to illuminate your mind. And that replacement or reminder or whatever it is, it's like an illumination further into the Course's teachings and why they work. And it could be a little instruction for you, what comes in after you ask to see it differently. Above all else, I want to see this differently. I want another way. I'm stuck, because we know that whatever we've given over to the Holy Spirit, that the ego is going to give that back to us at some stage, again and again. And the reason why we're asking for a new way to see this situation and to have something new come into our mind is that then helps to distinguish the fire of the egoic thought. So we're mind trained out of a wrong-minded thought system into a right-minded thought system. So you might get, say for example, you're upset, you give it over, so I don't want that anymore, help me see it differently, bring something into my mind that can help me with this. And you might all of a sudden get an idea, that person was calling for love. That person was in their ego and they were in fear. That's why they reacted that way. They're calling for love. They're calling for kindness and compassion and understanding. So you get another way to see it. So say the next time the ego offers you another thought or similar thought about that person, you've already got the truth been given you, so you apply it again. Oh no, that's right. That's the Holy Spirit reminded me that actually that person's really calling for love. That's why you ask, help me see this differently. Above all else, I want another way to see this. And the reason why we do this practice of forgiveness is that Jesus says that he can't come in and help give us another way unless we're open to it, because we've closed off our mind with the ego. The ego is like a closed thought system. Jesus says that an unforgiving mind is one that doesn't raise its thought to doubt. So when this process we're raising our thoughts to doubt because we're saying we can't replace that thought with a new thought, with a right-minded thought. You could apply the daily lesson, as he says. Any upsets, you can apply the daily lesson. Sometimes you get caught up in something that you're really taken for a ride down the ego's rabbit hole, and you really, even if you tried to think, you can't even think of a lesson, you probably can't even read something in the Course, you're so overwhelmed with the ego. So in that sense, so this is just one little process I found for myself was really helpful. And then, when I maybe said that to the Spirit, help me see it, I might even get guided to go and do a bar and Katie on it, or to open the Course and just the Spirit will help me read something that will help me get some shift of perception. So we're asking for the miracle to correct us. So this is when he says our job is just to accept the atonement, which is the correction. So atonement doesn't have anything to do with being at one. It has to do with the correction. So anytime we become willing to accept the correction to the way we've been thinking with the ego, where that's the first step of forgiveness. So forgiveness is really just being willing to say, look, I might be wrong about this, and what have I got to lose by asking for another way of seeing this? So it's really just an invitation to the Holy Spirit to bring us another way. And remember that we're the one that gets the results of every thought that we hold on to. And I've been talking about, the egoic thoughts as like hot coals, and, we don't have to hold on to that hot coal and be burnt by it. It's really beautiful that we do have a way out. We do have a way to freedom. And I think we're just so lucky to have a Course in Miracles, so blessed to have a way out. We can delay applying it, but, we don't have to suffer. Jesus is just standing there saying, look, here's a way out. Just turn to my teaching and apply it. So that's really what the forgiveness group is. You don't have to say that prayer. So our group at the moment, George, is we go around and do a sharing. You don't have to do that prayer if you don't want to. You can just talk and share about where you're at, what's been going on with you in the last 24 hours or the last week, or just anything that's on your heart to share. We don't encourage cross-talk as in giving solutions to others. We want you to focus on what's going on for you and where you're at, and miracles and shifts of perception, and just anything, any illumination that you've had as you're journeying with the Course, you can share with the group. It's all really helpful. And even if you're stuck, overwhelmed with the ego at the moment, this is just a place where there's no judgment, there's no demands that you change. Everyone trusts that the Holy Spirit's working in all minds. It's not our responsibility to fix or offer any advice to anyone. It's the Holy Spirit will either speak through us, or we know that the Holy Spirit will give the answer to every mind. So we're just sort of joining in this intention to practice forgiveness, you could say, and encourage each other. And this group works in mysterious ways, doesn't it? Because it's got lots of different things that it works with. And we can't know. All we can know is over time we just start to feel happier and more peaceful and more contented as we journey together. It's lovely, the beautiful sort of testament of facing those fears. And it's so interesting. You probably notice a pattern of the Centrelink, the accountant, the warning light, that pattern of not wanting to deal with things because it can be like a fear of, I don't know what to do and I'm going to muck it up and something's going to go even worse or something. There's like a generalised fear, and I know you've been facing those, and as you face each one, you start to validate that when you trust, so it brings it in, that trusting is another way. That helped me see it differently is trusting. Just, okay, Holy Spirit, I'm going to do an application. Filling out any form, you can experience a lot of fear doing that. So that's really, a wonderful time to just say, Holy Spirit, you fill the form out for me. Sometimes on my journey, I remember one night I was driving in the dark and it was raining, and I was driving up to my mother's, and I just said, Holy Spirit, you drive for me. You drive the car for me. And I felt like really relaxed and aware, and I drove really effortlessly because I used to have a fear, lots of fears I had, but one of them, they just, you don't even know your fears because you're so used to being fearful, you could say. it's really just in that moment when you feel, uh-oh, and it was really, really wonderful because now you've seen how it works. You shifted past that feeling of wanting to get rid of the Centrelink application. I'll do it tomorrow. That's generally how just put it off. And remember that conflict is never sorted out by denying it or calling it another name or leaving it. It has to be faced with the help of the Holy Spirit by trusting, okay, Holy Spirit, you fill the form out with me. And what I found when I was going through those periods of trusting with things that I didn't particularly feel that I could do very well, generally what the Spirit would guide me to do was slow down, really, really slow down, do it slowly, go slowly, just relax and take it slow. So it was always about slowing down, because when we get fearful of something, we want to get it done quickly and get it out of the way, because it's like, oh, this is annoying, I just don't know if I can do this. And the Spirit's helped me a lot with computer technical issues in that way that I've not known. And sometimes you can just sit quietly if you come across something with your computer and you find nothing's working. You can just stop and quieten your mind and just go sit down and meditate and just quieten the thoughts and just ask, So I sometimes, when that happened for me, I would know that maybe I wasn't meant to go and do what I was doing on the computer at that time. It was just an answer that, no, this is not what's meant to happen right now. But other times, so I'd sit quietly and I'd just say, if I'm meant to get this done now, please bring the answer into my mind. And if nothing came in, I would just know I wasn't meant to do what I thought I was meant to do. And that's the trust, because we have a plan of our own. We think, we think that, like the car's meant to work and the computer's meant to work. No, it's all guiding us to be somewhere else. Or maybe if the computer doesn't work, you close it up and you go somewhere else, and there's somebody else that needs to talk to you, or maybe you need to sit quietly and do something else. And it's really stepping into the plan of the Holy Spirit and really knowing that knowing that nothing is ever going wrong. Nothing, not one single thing is going wrong. It's always for our good. We cannot see why something is happening the way it's happening. But we have to, that's the trust. The trust is that if this is meant to be in a particular way, it will be effortless. I will open myself up and say, Holy Spirit, if this is meant to be done now, you give me the answer to how it's meant to happen. Now, sometimes I've been at the computer and I've had amazing things come in of how to fix this problem, and it's all been fixed really quickly. I've called someone, or I've gone, oh yes, I'll go to this website and find out this answer. I've been given the answer and it's all got done, and the job has been completed. And other times nothing comes in and I say, okay, I'm not meant to do this now, or else I would have got, it has to be effortless for it to be part of the Holy Spirit's plan. So that's what we can know. So if you get in your car and there's warning something, there's something that's telling you, no, I'm not meant to go today. And that's why, in the ego's plan, it's that, if you override the Holy Spirit's plan and say, oh no, I decided I was going to send my mother today. And that to all respects, that can sound like a good plan for you. But that's not the Holy Spirit's plan for you that day. You're meant to be doing something else. And this is why we have to completely give up our own plans and know that the Holy Spirit we can't see where the outcome of anything. We can't know our best interests or anyone else's best interests. so that's why it's beautiful living in the Holy Spirit's plan, because you can see, as you live in it, you see how it works, and you see the validation, and you see the outcome that you weren't to know in that initial period of why the computer's not meant to work, what the lesson was there. Sometimes I remember my first Course in Miracles online group. It was sort of 7 o'clock this day, and the internet went out at 3 minutes to 7 that night, and it just stopped working. So I text messaged one of the ladies in the group, and I said, it was on Skype in those days, and I said, can you do the group for me? My internet's just gone out. And it was for an hour, that group. And I was devastated. I'm like, I've organised this group. And interestingly, the internet came on just after 8 o'clock. And I'm looking at it, I'm thinking, how could the internet go out for just the whole hour for when I was meant to do this group? And I was worried. I thought, oh gosh, I've let the group down. I said that I was setting up this group, and now the internet hasn't worked. And as I sat there, I heard the answer. This had to happen because you felt you were too responsible for holding this group. You need to let go. I'm teaching you to let go. And that this is part of it. This is, you have to let go of any responsibility, and you follow my plan. And so it was a great lesson of letting go. And I saw that I didn't need to be there. I didn't need to be in that group for it to work, for everyone to get what they needed. I don't need to be in this group. I don't need to be anywhere. We're not special. We don't have to be anywhere. We just be wherever we are and say whatever you need to say. There's no special person to hold any group. And so I was really, straight away, the first group I ever took, I was trained that I was not necessary to be there. So isn't that wonderful to get that? I'm not necessary, I'm not special, I don't need to be anywhere in any time, but I can be used. So that's a really good miracle.
First of all, I love you all tremendously, infinitely. All this time, for years, I always thought I wasn't getting guidance. And I started realizing that I've had these beautiful, loving thoughts that are comforting. And I just thought they came from nowhere. And then I realized I've been getting guidance all this time and didn't know it. But that's just one thing. The other thing is I've been reading Gary Renard's books and trying to practice this 3-step method of forgiveness that he talks about in his books. And the first one is to recognize that the ego is messing with you. The second one is that I'm creating it all as a projection. It's sort of my movie that I'm creating, rather than a real world that I think I'm seeing.
Yeah.
And then the third one is to enlist Holy Spirit's assistance and guidance and power in trying to find out what to do. And so I've been trying to find a way to do that quickly and automatically because, well, I was just thinking, you guys in Australia, you don't have to deal with a guy like Donald Trump. But then all of a sudden I realized this guy presents the perfect forgiveness opportunity. It's a constant forgiveness lesson. So every time I catch myself hating this guy, I apply the steps and realize, that I'm projecting my own unconscious guilt onto this guy, And so it's a great reminder. But I try to practice forgiveness all the time. And one of the things that dawned on me, this is going to sound crazy, but I think I can share it in this group. There are these old movies that used to be on American television. And they used to have a silhouette at the bottom of the screen are these black movie seats that you're looking at from behind, and there's two people watching the movie, and you're seeing them from behind, while the main movie is on a screen, and they're always crummy science fiction movies. if you want to see it, you can Google Mystery Science Theater. But you're watching this movie on this television screen, and there's a silhouette of these movie seats with these two people watching at the bottom of the screen, and one of them is an alien, and one of them is just hiding.
Oh, I was really interested in what George had to say there, I think. George, if you can hear
If
us.
you think it's interesting, yeah, sure, I can.
Yeah, can you just explain? Well, the last thing we heard was you said there was one alien sitting there. Can you just repeat it from there?
Yeah, there's a guy sitting in one seat and an alien sitting in another, but a very friendly kind of alien.
Nice.
It's kind of like a dog robot or something. So it's all very comical. But I thought I'll switch that around and just imagine that Jesus and I are watching my life on a movie screen, and we're sharing popcorn and kind of laughing at it. That I would invoke that image to practice forgiveness. Just my life is on this movie screen, and all the players are in costumes, disguising themselves as somebody else, but they're all really me. But so I just think of my life as Jesus and I watch the movie screen, and now I know I can get guidance. It's always been there. I just tune in.
Not only are all the characters they're all you, but they're all Christ. Even Donald Trump is Christ.
That's a tough one, but that's great. I'm glad you pointed that out.
Yeah, there's no hierarchy of illusions. It's and nothing anyone does here in the dream can hurt you, because a dream doesn't have any effects. So no matter what Donald Trump says or does, you as spirit are invulnerable. So it's really important to remind ourselves that no matter what the North Korean president does, it's just the script, the dream on the movie screen. So if you can imagine yourself walking around and the movie screen is like a surround. Have you ever been into those places now where they have a movie screen? They usually have them in like when you visit a town or a tourist place, and they have a few of them in Australia here, and the movie screen goes right around you. So as you turn around, you can see something displayed on everywhere you look in a whole circle. So the screen surrounds you. It's got a little doorway and you walk in. But that's really what this life's like.
Yeah.
It's like a 360-degree movie screen. And the characters are not really bodies. They're just images, and we're projecting onto them what is in our mind. And to have it undone is we have to see past the body and the words, the meaning that we've given it. And we have to see the face of Christ in everyone, and that is how it gets undone, is we see our brother as sinless. That is the undoing of it. That they're not a body, they're not a character even, really. The character's just really a step in. But really, they're the holy, living Son of God. They're the absolute beauty, holy Son of God. That's the only thing they are. And anything else that they say is just blah, blah, blah. That's it. Nothing more. Just, we've given everything a meaning that comes out of their mouth. I'm invulnerable. So it's just up to us then to be the love, the Christ love in the world, and share that and teach others how to be the Christ love. There's lots of things that I've resonated with, but I've found that Disappearance of the Universe was probably the book that I read the most alongside the course. That was for me. Everyone's will find their own path and find what they like, because we're all spirits in charge. But if you've resonated with it, and those forgiveness lessons are beautiful. He has another one where he says to say to everyone you meet, you are pure and innocent. You are the Holy Christ. All is forgiven and released. I never really used that much for me because I found that saying all is forgiven and released didn't resonate with me because I felt like something I don't know, just wasn't what I needed to do. So, but it's really, we have to, some of the things we read in these books are really going to resonate. The Holy Spirit's going to take you to exactly what you need at the right time. You're going to see something in the course. You're going to do forgiveness in your way. So trust what comes to you in how you're guided to do it. Trust in that. Don't take my word if I've suggested something here and it doesn't feel right to say a Holy Spirit prayer. Don't do it. Trust in your own feeling and guidance. Trust that above all else. One of the things that as I was going to sleep last night, I was getting this awareness coming in that when we're, like for you, Annie, when you're seemingly giving up something, it feels like you're giving up. It feels like something has been given up. And what you don't know is what's on the other side. So all you can know is what you feel now. So it feels like, even though it feels like pleasure, it's actually pain. What happens is because we don't know how it's going to be once it's all forgiven, we have no idea when we haven't enacted forgiveness. So this is why trust has to come in. And so it's literally like, I was thinking last night, it's like when we're in seemingly believing this world's real, it's like the bodies feel real. So, our partner or our friends and that, they feel real. And we've got to trust something that has no form, the invisible guide. So we're coming to know the Holy Spirit, Jesus and God, and they're all invisible. They all have no form. And they're all in my mind, and it's hard to hear those guides. So it's like a really difficult thing to do at the start because we've got to get the guidance, and that's from a quiet voice in our mind, and we don't know what the outcome's going to be from listening to that guide. All we can know is what we're experiencing now. So we think that, wow, I've got this seemingly little bit of pleasure that actually really, if I look clearly, it's actually quite painful. And to get across that gap, to get to the miracle, I don't know the outcome of the miracle. I don't know what's going to be on the other side. So that's the big thing with the Course in Miracles, is that I have to trust that what I'm going to experience after I release my attachment, and what I'm currently linked into and holding on to. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know how it's going to be. I don't know what that experience is going to be like. And the ego is going to tell me that I'm going to lose something. It says that even though you've got this pleasure, but really it's painful, we can feel it's painful, the ego is going to tell us that we're going to be worse off if we practice forgiveness. And so that's why it really takes an abundant willingness to shift. And you can see when Annie was doing the process then, it's that unsureness about what's going to be on the other side of if I release this. So where I'm sitting right now, I'm just sort of going through, sort of talking for Annie in a way, and for everyone, where I'm sitting right now, I can only know this pleasure and painful, this what I think is pleasure, but actually I'm holding on to a hot coal, but I've got this idea that holding on to the hot coal is pleasure. And I don't know what's on the other side of after I practice forgiveness. So if I let go of this hot coal, I really think that I'm going to get a bigger hot coal. I think that I'm going to be given like a brick of hot coal, because the Holy Spirit, the ego, is going to tell me that if I let go of this attachment, this little coal that I'm holding on to, say the coal's as big as the palm of your hand, the ego is going to tell me I'm going to get a brick of a hot coal. It's going to be worse. This is what the ego is telling me, that if I do forgiveness, there's going to be more sacrifice, it's going to be chaos, it's going to be loss. But where I'm sitting at the moment, when I'm feeling this pain of hanging on to this idea and this belief and this whatever I'm hanging on to, I have to trust first to cross that gap. And some of the things that can help you cross that gap is look at different things that you've already done forgiveness on. It can help you validate, where you've been in a painful, when you've released something else and you've done forgiveness on it. Something simple, I know there's no hierarchy, but we do have a belief in hierarchy. So we are putting our beliefs and our grievances and people at different levels all over the time, because the ego is the belief in hierarchy and differences. So we can be reminded of a time where we did practice forgiveness, and we can remind ourselves of the results of that we didn't know how we were going to experience. So, like even Mike yesterday, he was saying that he did some process, maybe releasing some judgment, being right about it, and he had a really beautiful day of bliss. So it's really important for Mike on his journey to remind himself, and all of us to remind ourselves, that when we've practiced forgiveness in the past, we've had the miracle come in. And so therefore, that's going to be the same experience we have now when we release whatever we're holding on to now. And that's how the trust, we develop trust. And this is developing the trust by seeing that. And it's okay to say, I'm not ready to release this now. It's okay. There's no rush. There's no pushing. If you're not ready, it's okay. I've done that myself. On my journey, I've just, okay, this is coming up. I'm not feeling that good today. I'm going to let this go. I'm just going to wait until I feel a little bit better. So it's just about being kind to yourself. There's no rushing to get it done. The time will present itself when you can release that. You don't have to force yourself. But like Annie said, she just sort of said, I just want a little bit of willingness. And then I was guided to just share that just to remind yourself, Annie, of the times where you have released things and the benefit and what came in afterwards, and the feeling of, the uplifted, peaceful feeling that you got from it. And we all need to remind ourselves of that. So we've developed the trust, because as we know, we cannot know the outcome. And we can't know how the Holy Spirit's going to heal it. We just today's really been about trusting really everyone's just been talking about the trusting, and this is such an important part of the course. To take us into the meditation, we read a lesson yesterday. I think Annie read one, and it was really beautiful, and I felt, let's read a prayer lesson to take us into the meditation each day, so it sort of focuses your mind in on the words as we go in. I'll just go in and get my timer ready, and let me read this for us to go in, and then we'll go into silence. This is lesson 286. The hush of heaven holds my heart today. Father, how still today. How quietly do all things fall in place. This is the day that has been chosen as the time in which I come to understand the lesson that there is no need that I do anything. In you is every choice already made. In you has every conflict been resolved. In you has everything I hope to find already given me. Your peace is mine. My heart is quiet, and my mind at rest. Your love is heaven, and your love is mine. The stillness of today will give us hope that we have found the way and travelled far along it to a wholly certain goal. Today we will not doubt the end that God Himself has promised us. We trust in Him and in ourself, who still is one with Him.